to Two Dummies and a Microphone with your host, John L. Lucas.
All right, welcome to this week's episode of Two Dummies Podcast. This week we have Miss Audrey. She runs Wellness Audrey Instagram and YouTube. So what is it that you're actually trying to do?
Hi. So what I'm trying to do is that I'm just trying to make health easy. I've noticed, since I feel like I've been kind of able to create a routine that works for me, that it's a huge challenge for literally everyone that I talk to. And I'm just like, well, why is it so damn hard? Right? I have people in my own family, they're struggling to lose weight. Or in my husband's family, my father-in-law has a lot of health issues with diabetes. And he's just overweight, has issues with his eyes. And my sister's childhood friend at age 33, her liver's failing because of her life choices. She's overweight and has to make severe life changes to just get back on track. So I'm just like, well, something's got to give. This, it can't be this difficult that we're making it. But I mean, unfortunately, our environment has kind of enforced it that way. So that is why. Yeah.
Everything that you see is monopolized towards fast food or convenience, or just do these 5 steps and then you'll be. And I think that's more just a quick fix rather than a long-term solution.
Exactly. If you go on any social media platform, you're going to see, little influencer Sammy looking all fit and cute. And she's saying, oh, this is what I eat in a day. And then you're just like, well, what about me? If I eat that in a day, I'm going to get bloated.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, hey, Sammy. So then it's just a cycle of, compare, despair, eat, overeat, and horrible cycle. So that's why, I really got into doing what I'm started doing, just because, I want to advocate a healthier lifestyle without these million tips and tricks, when it really should just come naturally to you, and if something doesn't come naturally to you, you shouldn't do it. Granted, I mean, if eating Twinkies and cookies come naturally to you, right? I get it. I know, but it's a slow start, slow change. But yeah, that.
So where did your love for this come from, or what's your background, or how did you get started in this?
So, my love actually started when I first went vegan. LOL. And you were there for it.
I was, yes.
So I went vegan, and I was vegan for approximately 2 years. But I didn't realize, there's a lot that goes into it, and I was definitely doing it the wrong way. I would eat just a lot of processed vegan foods, or I would just try to make a vegan version of something that I would like that's not vegan. Yeah. And I mean, all that's cool and stuff, but, I wasn't doing vegan the right way, in the sense I wasn't supplementing. I wasn't eating whole foods. I wasn't really eating in a way that, how to put it, like a whole foods vegan should. I kept eating I was a French fries and avocado vegan, pretty much.
But did you feel a difference, when you got off the meat, to even being a processed vegan?
So yes, and I only say that because the diet I had before was a lot of conventional dairy, conventionally raised meats. And when you get off of that, I thought that was the sin, right? But, um, it's like, no, meat and dairy is not the sin. Conventionally raised meat, conventionally raised dairy. Now that's a whole different story.
Now, when you say
Because of
conventionally raised meat, are you talking about like big, big farms, like commercial farms, or just like a cow or a chicken that's out in a pasture in some dude's farm? Like he's got 3 or 4 chickens and 1 cow, and that's what he lives
that,
off of.
that would be a very ideal situation for someone, right? When I say conventionally raised, I mean those huge dairy farms where the
They're just
cows
putting
have
them
like
in. Yeah.
this much space. Yeah, they're
Okay.
getting shot up with antibiotics and
Okay.
hormones. That's what I mean, conventionally raised. So, that, and when I went vegan, yes, it was for, it was moral reasons, it was health reasons. Um, but now I'm not vegan, but I definitely eat a way healthier now and with a whole foods, with a more whole foods approach. But back then when I started navigating, this like food space, it was so new, and I could definitely see why, people get confused because, when I was a new vegan, I was thinking like, oh, I'm doing it right. I'm eating um, this, fake meat patty or this, fake chicken thing
Hmm.
here, and it's just like, but you look at it, so well, it's fake, just like, the Oreos in the cookie section, they're fake,
Yeah, but they're so good
it's,
though.
right. So it's like what we have to realize is that they're food products, they're not food. And I think when we start to at least shift our mindset around it, then we can really like kind of start to look at it differently and slowly change the way we look at food. um, and uh, and when I say whole foods, I don't mean that super trendy wellness and grocery store.
Yeah,
I mean uh,
like
like
actual vegetables that you're gonna have to cut
ac-
yourself.
actual vegetables you cut yourself, organic meat, organic dairy, like the one ingredient foods that you
Hmm.
find on Earth. So, um, and yes, I do eat, a minimal amount of meat and and I'm almost dairy free, but I don't do it because it's bad, but I want to emphasize that like your nutrition is very personalized to you. And that's why I get so angry with a lot of silly influencers out there because they'll say, oh, eat this. It's so good for this. Eat this. And it's like, well, yeah, it could be good for that, but it might not be good for you.
Yeah, there's
And
only
it's
certain aspects that are good for one specific body type, and I know that people do like blood type, like whatever blood type you are, they eat for your blood type or whatever ailment they circumvent like the actual like, oh, my liver hurts, so I'm gonna eat things that are just good for my liver, but it might be bad for something else.
right. And I think people like it's a lot of trial and error that I don't really like think that people realize they need to start doing. Um like I realized like I used to eat oatmeal a lot. Like I would have it every morning and I'd put a shit ton of PB Fit in there, stir it up. Oh, it's so good. Um, but I realized, and I was started wearing a continuous glucose monitor around me. Um, Oatmeal really spikes my blood sugar, and
Hmm.
even though it's considered a healthy food, right?
Yeah.
It's a whole grain. I even ended up switching to the gluten free one because like gluten sometimes upsets my stomach, and but I realized for me specifically, oats spikes my blood sugar in a way that it takes a, a while for it to get down to its resting level. So, but for someone else, I'm sure it would be okay. Like, and it takes a lot of trial and error. And I noticed that when I switched my breakfast from um, from oatmeal to like just switching to like, let's say like just dinner for breakfast, like a salmon and
Yeah.
sauteed veggies, or literally like
I
you can have
can't do
dinner for
that.
but like if you have like dinner for breakfast, like you'll probably notice that you're a little less cranky throughout the day. You're more full until lunch, like and you're less likely to be hypoglybitchy throughout the day. So like, cause think about it, like I'm sure you've met people that if they, as soon as they start to approach lunch, they get a little cranky,
Oh yeah.
right? And that's a sign that your blood sugar is kind of out of whack, because our bodies were meant to, like, we were bred, like us and our ancestors, we were bred for scarcity, right? We weren't bred to have all this
Yeah.
food surrounding us constantly.
You have your
So
foragers and you have your hunters, and whatever you got for the day is what you ate. Like, people weren't meant to overeat or snack throughout the day or graze or whatever you want to put it. But it's it's wild.
exactly, it's very wild. And so I'm just like, that's why it's important, you go on this journey, either with a friend, with a coach, by yourself, and just seeing what foods work for you, and, and what don't.
Yeah. I think I kept thinking, going back to, you should make that a shirt, the Hypoglybitchy. That's funny. Um, but yeah, so one of the things that I find interesting, like talking about all these things, is the gut health. And so, what determines your gut? Like, how do you know if you have bad gut health or good gut health? And how do you like correct that?
Okay. Well, if you live in America, you probably have gut issues.
Okay.
Because right. But here I'll get more specific. So, um, so if you eat some, like, let's say you have a meal, and then
Like, I just had pancakes for lunch.
yeah, okay. And let's say you're you're one weight in the morning, and then you are like 7 pounds heavier, at the end of the day. And that's
Hmm.
pretty much an everyday thing. Like if you have like excessive bloating like that, you have gut issues. If you are constipated, you have gut issues. If you have diarrhea, you have gut issues, right? That's a little more direct. Um, if you are moody a lot, you probably have gut issues. If
Probably.
you what was it? I mean, obviously, like, depending on, I know everyone has um different things going on in their life, but if you depending on what levels of depression you have, you probably have gut issues. Um Anxiety, gut issues. I mean, the what 70 to 80% of serotonin is made in your gut.
Are you
So
serious?
I'm serious.
Good night. So I didn't realize that the gut had that much to do with your overall well-being.
It does. And that's why there are some, not a lot, but there are some therapists out there that are doing a holistic approach. Like, as they like have therapy with their client, they're changing their diet, their lifestyle, um, and so that way they're approaching the person as a whole,
Hmm.
and not just feeding them, pills,
Yeah.
which can mess up your gut
Oh, for
and
sure.
your liver.
Yeah. That's like, we don't, like, my family, we don't take any type of over the counter type medicine. Like, there's no ibuprofen, um, aspirin, Tylenol, or anything like that. And it's all, my wife and I like to do like the more natural, holistic approach to that. If the kids have a fever, we'll give them elderberry or different things like that to up their immune system, vice just try and destroy the good gut flora that's in there. Because I mean, that's all that the ibuprofen and antibiotics are doing to your body. Is just, they're killing that, but they're also killing everything else that's in there.
Yeah, they are. And if you have one round of antibiotics, your body could potentially not recover from that for up to 2 years
Good night.
from just one round. So I know when I had I've been having a debacle with my front tooth, and I had surgery on it, and they gave me a round of antibiotics,
Yeah.
and um, and I was very hesitant, but it was a major surgery. But if you know you have to take antibiotics, you just have to make sure you're being extra careful feeding your good bacteria because you are wiping them. You're wiping bad bacteria, good bacteria. Uh, so you take your probiotics, you eat extra fiber. Be very mindful of how you approach your stress because stress can negatively affect your gut health.
Yeah.
So there are so many factors that go into it. It, there's just is so much. I mean, I'm not a microbiologist or
Yeah.
anything, but like literally everything can affect your gut health, from the off gassing in your car to the products you put on your face to the cleaning products you use in your house. But I mean, of course, like if you live in a house with anybody, like including dogs or other humans, that also positively affects your gut health,
Hmm.
which means you can have a diverse, because you don't want just yes, good bacteria, great in your gut, but you want diversity in there too. So when you have a diversity of people in your home, you guys all exchange gut bacteria
Oh
and
yeah.
making each other healthier.
That's interesting.
So yeah, thank your kids.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like glad I have so many. You're keeping my gut healthy. That is bananas. So what's been like one of your biggest challenges that you've had since you started this journey?
The challenges is when I work with people who I know they want change, um to change something, but um they're not willing to change it, to make any changes. And um like I recently had to start um I've had to start my changing my approach because um I used to just, I would be so excited and be like, here's
Yeah.
everything you need to do, go. And I look back and I'm like, oh man, I'm sure that was super overwhelming because I was so excited. Um, you know, but now I have to approach these people, not necessarily cautiously, just like with starting small, just because um, you know, someone, may be brave enough to, want to make changes in their lifestyle. But uh, they, they might be nervous because, they've never done it before. And, I have to be mindful of that. So, I am very passionate about helping people who are super new on their journey. Um, so that is my goal, to make them feel comfortable, and not just comfortable but excited to be on this journey.
Yeah.
But I will say, though, working with my own family has probably even been harder than working with clients. like
Because
like
you have to see them all the time, and a client can just not talk to you anymore, or you don't actually have to physically see them.
exactly. And um I I would talk to my family. I'd, give my mom a call. She'd be like, "Oh, I'm doing this." I'm like, "Oh, what are you eating?" And then she'd be like, "Oh, this." I'm like, "Well, you should eat this instead." "Oh, well." And I'm like, "Whoa." And I'm having the same conversations over and over. Um, but again, it comes down to, maybe I should continue to try to that small changes approach. And I recently started doing that with my mom, and she's finally started buying some pasture raised eggs. So like, thank God.
Yeah.
One thing at a time.
Yeah. And I know that you're from California and then moved to North Carolina. So what's like the hardest thing that you've been able, like, I know that the two, and you've like, since you've been in the Navy, you've moved a bunch, but like, what's the biggest difference like living over in the South? Because I know you were skeptical about it. Has that like a changed the way that you eat food, or had more indulgences since they do have like more fairs and festivals and fried food are more readily available? Like, I don't even know if there's any health stores over there.
I it's funny you asked. Thank you for asking this. Um, I I was so passionate about my circumstance. I even made a blog post of, you know, how to eat healthy when you're in an unhealthy community.
Yeah.
um, I have just grown to love um, ordering online um, and ordering from like CSAs and um, Misfit Market, Imperfect Produce, um, or organic meal services like Sunbasket or
Hmm.
Sakara,
Yeah.
or the grocery delivery service Thrive Market. Like, I've had to rely online a lot just because I feel like my resources close to my home, um, they seem a little more limited in the health and wellness uh, like area, just because um, it, for whatever reason, like this community around here, um, they, again, I'm sure it's just like Southern culture, which I appreciate. Um, there is a lot of fried food. There's a lot of what is that? Bojangles.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot of Bojangles. That line is just it went on for a mile at one point, and I and what's there's some other ones that there's so much fast food around here.
Yeah.
Um, but in the community I live in now almost qualifies for a food desert, but it just missed the mark just because we have we actually have a grocery store, but it doesn't even have that. The grocery store doesn't really have everything I need, but you know, but
Like, we
hey,
actually have a grocery store in the neighborhood that I live in. So
so that's something.
yeah.
Yeah. So I really have had to rely on delivery for sure. And I mean, like, um, COVID definitely has made delivery easier. And like, I hate saying that, but uh, COVID has been a blessing with these like grocery deliveries, because I feel like it just, without it, I would be fucked.
Yeah.
And like, but I will say though, when I do go to the grocery store here, um, like, I would say 70% of the time, they have the basics of what I need. And sometimes they don't, but I feel like you could still go to a grocery store around here, get organic produce and organic meats, and make yourself a Whole Foods meal. So, like, even if you like live somewhere like me, you know, if you have a car,
Yeah.
like, and
If
can
there's
drive
a will,
well,
there's a way. You can
yeah, if
find
there is a
something.
will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Um, or Instacart if you really don't even want to drive. So,
Yeah.
like, I have had to rely on technology so bad.
Now,
But
talking
I do
about,
love this community.
well,
These
good.
people are great.
I'm glad you're having fun over there. Now, talking about COVID, how do you like the healthy aspect of keeping your body up and running? Do you feel, and I know that they've done research, but if you caught COVID, do you feel like you would be able to beat it with not having to take any extra medicine and just being able to take your extra vitamin C, D, and E, and being able to work through that?
So, um, Well, are you saying me specifically or you in general?
Just
Or
people,
like,
like people in general. Like if you live in like a semi-healthy lifestyle, do you feel like like how bad do you feel like it would put you out?
um, it would put you out just like pretty much any other sickness. Like if you look at COVID, that most people that are affected are the ones that are already having health issues. In
Yeah.
America, I don't think it's a coincidence that we have a huge obese population, but also a huge COVID population,
Yeah.
right? Or COVID cases, excuse me. So I don't think that's a coincidence. Your immune health is also like 80% of your immune health is in your gut. What do you know? How
Comes full
funny. Back
circle.
to the gut, full
Yeah.
circle. Um, so and if your gut isn't, up to par, then you're not gonna absorb, the extra vitamin D, the extra zinc or magnesium or vitamin C that you're putting into your body because like you're putting all this extra stuff in there. But if you haven't been feeding it over time of, the fiber, the healthy fats, the quality protein sources, if you haven't been feeding that over time, pumping it in at last minute while you're sick, it's not they're not you're not going to absorb soup like those nutrients very well. But um but for a healthy person who has been feeding their gut flora with, quality so non-starchy carbohydrates, um, you know, high quality proteins and those healthy fats and large amounts of phytonutrients, polyphenols, right? Feeding that gut flora.
Hmm.
And if they get COVID, I mean, their chances of survival are also pretty high. Like
Yeah.
and like I could see, like, I mean, I'm not a doctor or anything, but I could definitely see if, someone who takes good care of their gut health, um, like if they ended up getting COVID, they would recover, I mean, I don't want to put a time on it, but fairly quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of the things that like reading the news and just being around all of this stuff, and especially up here in Washington where they're it's more overcast and people have that deficiency of the vitamin D and being able to go outside and actually do those things. So it was just one thing, like from your aspect of how you felt like all that stuff would affect your recovery time frame or how you would be affected by it.
So you're asking how
No, it was
someone's
just
affect. Oh,
no. I was just
okay.
making a statement.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, still on the gut health. Like, what are some of like the big key? I know processed sugars are probably like the highest things that'll inflame your gut, but like I eat like what I feel like I should or what I want to. But like, what are some of the big key things that make you feel sluggish or make you feel bloated?
So some typical like gut inflammatory foods are, those refined sugars, those
Hmm.
refined carbohydrates, conventional dairy, just because with like that, like if that cow isn't like grass fed or anything,
Hmm.
those that protein is all it's going to do is just like tear out your gut wall and give you a leaky gut. And then what was it? What else? Inflammatory oils like peanut oil, canola oil, vegetable oil. Um,
Like all the good stuff.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like you could easily use avocado oil like in
Yeah.
place of all of those, and it's totally like rich in a lot of like nutrients. So I think avocado is a wonderful replacement for all of those. Um, and um, what else? Um, I mean, it's pretty much if it is a food product, um, like if you can't recognize the ingredients, it will harm your gut. for the worse.
Yeah. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to start. I know my wife looks at all that stuff and then I'll bring something home and she'll get mad at me because I didn't read all the ingredients. So that's something I'm gonna have to start doing more of and figuring
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. And even in some of the supplements we take, um, it's crazy we have to be such a detective. Because if like you look like let's say you take one bottle, right, and you look at it, like you wouldn't be able to recognize like Elios. And you're like, what
Yeah.
does that even mean, right? Like some of these things are like, or they're wood pulp. And you're like, what? Why is that in there? Or maltodextrin, which fucks up your blood sugar.
Hmm.
Even though it's all it is a little like additive for, like I've seen it in a lot of food seasonings. I've seen it in supplements. It's pretty much everywhere. But if you take it consistently, it can really mess up your blood sugar over time when you think you're fasting, right? And you're taking your supplement. Um, but instead you're spiking your blood sugar for, when it should be
Hmm.
at a regular level.
Yeah. So no, everybody's blood sugar level is different too, though, right?
There's a general like
Range.
range like 80 to like a high of like 120, like though some other doctors would say like more like 110 or 100. But like that's kind of like the general range, like that's like considered healthy.
Hmm.
Um, though, and I don't think, everyone needs a continuous glucose monitor. I tried it out for everyone and I was like, wow, this shit's overpriced.
I can
um,
imagine. And now is that like you this it's like a thing that you attach to your arm and like it's just constantly.
yeah, it's like a little thing. It has like like little needle in there and it's a sticker and you put it on the back of your arm.
Hmm.
Um, and then it's like slightly in you, inside you.
All right.
And then so that way it's able to read your blood sugar throughout the day. So um, once you like have it set on your arm, you can eat something and then check your blood sugar right away with your phone, and all you have to do is scan it.
Oh, nice.
Um, Very high tech, and I think it's great if you're interested, in seeing it. Like it's a great like one time thing to see how your body responds to certain foods.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a forever thing. But if you wanted to do it more than once, I would say it's more like at most a seasonal thing. Like, in the winter you probably eat certain kind of
Yeah.
foods. In the summer, you know what I mean? So I would say, um, so I would say like, it before you even get one, I would focus on just balancing your plate first with protein and fat and fiber, right? You want your
Yeah.
plate, about 75% veggies and then 20, and then the rest like your protein and fat, right?
Yeah.
Um, so if you focus on balancing your protein, fat, and fiber, then your blood sugar is probably going to be balanced. But if you feel hungry an hour or two after you eat something, then your blood sugar is probably messed up.
Hmm. Now, how important do you think like balancing or tracking your micro and macronutrients is?
How important do I think it is?
Yeah.
It's I think if you're really new to portioning foods for yourself, I think it's a great tool to use um, in the beginning to see what certain portion sizes are. Um, but I mean, I feel like, after doing it for a little bit, you wouldn't need to do it. Like I don't think tracking your food the rest of your life like is the way to go. We should learn to intuitively eat our food, right? Because
Yeah.
you know, back to our ancestors, like were they on my fitness pal?
Yeah. That's
So
funny.
yeah, so I just um so that like I think tracking your macros is great, especially if you have very specific like bodybuilding goals and you have some sort of performance, something, sports or bodybuilding related. by all means, you have very specific goals, go and do that. But if you're like me, or like a human that just likes to, dance for a workout, go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dance before this instead of taking notes. So like if you like, then there's really no point to track your macros. That's just kind of I just, but I mean, I know the people that are very adamant, like if it fits your macros, right? Like
Yeah.
the people are like, I know people are passionate about it, but if it works for you, it works for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my stance on it. I've tried it so many times, and what works best is just, oh, this looks right.
Yeah. Or I mean, whatever makes you feel better, I would say. If you're gonna eat and then you're gonna crash later, that something's gonna affect you, but you still do, just having that determination to not actually eat that food.
Exactly. And I think it would be more helpful, instead of tracking how, like, your macronutrients, tracking how you feel after you eat your meals, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's say you have, your steak and potatoes and asparagus, and you wrote,
Sounds good.
right? And
Yeah.
then you eat something that you're, wow, feel great, right? And then, and then breakfast the next day, you have waffles, syrup, and strawberries. And then 2 hours later, you can put, fuck this place, right? And
Yeah.
and then you're like, and then you look like, okay, I felt great eating the steak, potatoes, and asparagus, but I felt really crummy eating the waffles. And so I think just like getting that individual data of yourself and tracking how you feel, you can kind of start to narrow down on the foods that you really shouldn't have in your day to day.
Yeah. But now then when you're talking about you're working out or exercise, like what do you do to make sure that you stay active?
What do I do personally? Um, so I like to keep a variety, just because I can get bored easily. But I think I ensure to do uh, strength 3 to 4 times a week. Um, I used to do rhythm cycling like 6 times a week, but I had to cut it down because that's just too much. So I just think it's so fun. I get obsessed, so I gotta cut it down. So I do rhythm cycling about 3 times a week now, um, and I dance pretty much every day.
That's funny.
Um, and I sculpt about 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay. And sculpt is like yoga
So
or
no, sculpt is like a more intense Pilates.
okay.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of the Sculpt Society,
no.
or
If you would have told me
what's what
that, I would
how.
have thought of y'all are like got big marble rocks and y'all are making like figurines or something.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, well, it's a lot of pulsing, and it makes you want to die. But
Mm,
it's so fun. Um is because like when you're done with it, you're like, oh my gosh, all I used was my body weight, and I am very sore.
yeah.
And I you could definitely start seeing some definition like once you start doing it like a couple weeks in.
And that's a lot of things that people don't realize too is like you have your own tools inside your house. Like I know COVID's going on and then a lot of the gyms have been shut down, but you can use your own body to get in or get a good workout.
Yeah, you don't need, you don't need weights, right? Like sure, like they help, like, and you don't even need a treadmill. I am always walking my dogs outside,
Yeah.
you know, in the cold weather. Or like even around the house. If it's too cold outside, I'll just walk around my house, right? You don't need some like fancy exercise or exercise app to get movement in. It doesn't have to be a super structured thing. It doesn't even have to be, a 45-minute gig.
Yeah.
Like if you just wanted to do like a 5-minute walk around your house, like in the middle of the day, do it, right? And then, 20 minutes later after working, you're like, I'm going to do another 5-minute walk. You do another 5-minute walk.
Yeah.
So,
just break it up into different segments.
Exactly. Like, it doesn't have to be, a berries boot camp, everything like every day. So.
Yeah. Well, nice. But,
what do you do for your workout?
I play with my kids. They have me going up and down the stairs. Like the place that we moved to has got a big backyard, so I try and get them outside, or they'll go outside and ride bikes. And then just normal everyday stuff. Like it's a 2-story house, so I'll go up and down the stairs and just hang out and play with the kids. There's no real structure to any of the workouts that I do. It's all kid based, whatever they want to play. So
that's wonderful. Look at you, an example of health.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. Yeah,
there he is.
Yeah. But no, I appreciate you coming on and diving into this with me. It's been a fun journey watching you grow and flourish into your natural habitat. So where can people find you at, or reach out to you if they have any questions?
They can find me on Instagram at Wellness Audrey. They can find me on my YouTube channel, Wellness Audrey, or you can go on my my website, wellnessaudrey.us. I'm all over the place. Oh, and I have some Facebook page, Wellness Audrey.
All right.
Wellness Audrey, Wellness Audrey. Thank you.
There you go. Just Google Wellness Audrey and you'll be able to find all the tools, tips, and tricks that you need. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Of course.